Down last week, but now more places inside China are starting a second round of lockdowns. A woman in Wuhan saw her husband tied up on the hospital bed before he died as the hospital refused to treat him. Now the woman is left alone with her 2 kids. One Chinese province reports new numbers of imported infection cases on the same day, this in conflict with the official figures. A Senate committee is about to investigate the origins of the CCP virus pandemic and the worldwide initial response. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. A Senate committee is about to investigate the origins of the CCP virus pandemic and the worldwide initial response. At home, why the U.S. national stockpile wasn't better prepared and why medical devices and supplies are manufactured overseas will be investigated. But the focus of the investigation will be China and the WHO. Senator Ron Johnson says getting information sooner would have helped the United States develop an accurate lab test faster. The investigation will examine if the WHO helped cover up the outbreak. This part of the investigation will be led by Senator Rick Scott. Scott said in a recent interview, quote, "We can't trust communist China. We have learned we can't trust the WHO because they lie to us." The Guardian reported on April 12th that British intelligence agencies believe its government must reassess its relationship with China. The report said MI6, MI5, and the Foreign Intelligence Service believe the Chinese Communist Party will continue pushing its one-party model and saying it successfully tackled the pandemic. The agencies are telling the Britain's leaders to think about how to respond and to focus more on investigating China. MI6 reportedly said China has been seriously misreporting the CCP virus numbers. Now to China. The outbreak of the CCP virus had an impact on China's economics in the first quarter. According to Chinese Customs Agency, overall Chinese exports fell 11.4% in the first quarter. The trade surplus declined about 80%. Chinese exports to the U.S. fell 23.6%.
贸易顺差 983.3亿元，减少 80.6%。
China imported about $5 billion worth of U.S. agricultural products in the first quarter, including twice as many U.S. soybeans and 6 times more pork than a year ago. This week, more places in China started the second round of lockdowns. A document circulating on social media appears to be an emergency notice from a county in Hebei province. It was issued on April 13th and asks all cities and villages to restore lockdown measures and resume measuring body temperatures and registering people traveling from overseas or from Hubei province. One netizen wrote Chinese authorities are covering up the epidemic to encourage people to go back to work. That means an outbreak, even a devastating outbreak, is coming again. Conflicting reports on the number of virus cases in one Chinese province. The health commissioner of Heilongjiang reporting 78 imported cases that's from March 21st to April 12th midnight.
目前呢，累计报告的这个确诊病例呢是243例。
The commissioner of the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr, asked Chinese authorities to undisappear Dr. Ai Fen from Wuhan. Ms. Ai passed on medical diagnosis about the CCP virus to whistleblower Dr. Li Wenliang. A video has now appeared on Ms. Ai's social media account.
2020年4月13号下午2点半钟。
She's standing in front of the emergency building of Central Hospital of Wuhan. She says it's April 13th and that she's working as usual and everything is well. But no media can reach her or ask her questions. It's unknown if she made the video under pressure from the authorities. And in the race to develop a vaccine, 2 pharmaceutical giants are teaming up in an unprecedented move to create a vaccine to combat the CCP virus. GlaxoSmithKline and Sanofi have put aside their differences for now and announced they're teaming up to develop a vaccine that enhances the immune system. GSK hopes by joining forces, the vaccine can be developed much faster. It can often take up to a decade to get a new vaccine. And Johnson & Johnson aim to produce up to 900 million doses of its potential vaccine by April 2021. That's if test trials go well. Human testing is set to begin in September. A Wuhan woman tells us about the circumstances surrounding her husband's death. She says when he fell ill near the start of the epidemic, the hospital refused to treat him. NTD's Chu Wen-rong has the story.
A Wuhan woman says her 47-year-old husband was tied to a hospital bed for 3 days, still conscious until he died.
He said he was feeling unwell. The doctors didn't really try to rescue him, so he was just tied up on the hospital bed so that he could not move. He kept saying he was unwell. The doctor said he won't make it. The nurse even wrote he was unconscious, but he kept mumbling day and night.
Xiang is a Wuhan resident who has 2 kids. Her husband died in the hospital on January 25th after running a high fever for 4 or 5 days.
In the beginning, he had no fever. He went to the hospital to see a doctor and stayed there for 7 or 8 days. The hospital said that his illness was very complicated and he had to go to the intensive care unit.
Xiang's husband had diabetes. After a week in the hospital, he was transferred from the intensive care unit. The hospital said the intensive care unit had to close, but they didn't tell her the reason.
The doctor said he would be transferred to a general ward. I was happy in the beginning, thinking that his illness was cured. I could finally be with him. But by then, he had high fever every day.
Just a few days later, she says he was in a critical condition. Xiang had to sign a bunch of papers. She didn't try to understand what she was signing because she just wanted to save her husband's life.
I think the hospital is all about the money. To save someone, you need to pay first. They put a bunch of papers in front of you for you to sign, and since you want to save a life, would you read over 10 piles of paper?
She added when her husband was in critical condition, doctors made every excuse to refuse treatment.
They said that there was no ward nor intensive care unit available. No one was willing to accept him. The doctor said that you should be happy to have a hospital bed. Some people can't even get a hospital bed.
She says that the doctors also refused to give him medicine and told her to buy it herself. The doctors diagnosed Xiang's husband as having severe pneumonia, but she believes that he contracted the CCP virus at the hospital.
I can only count this as bad luck, unfortunate. What else can I do?
She's now left with her 2 daughters, aged 3 and 22 years old. She said she can only hope that the future will be bright. Reporting by Hong Ning and Chu Wen-rong, NTD News.